on the inaugural mission here, the best advice ever segment of the podcast. We'll put this out on free beer in real estate. And by the way, the free beer is tomorrow. But best advice ever. We're going to do this regular series talking with agents, brokers, real estate gurus from around the country, around the world, and give you guys the best bits of information, the gold nuggets, if you will. My guest recognizes that term from our mutual friend, Coach Fred, the gold nuggets, right? So let me do that introduction. Let's get right into this. I chose this guest because he has a great story and he's going to be really polished and smooth. So I'm putting the pressure on you, Greg. But our guest today is Greg Straus, and he's in Buffalo, New York, owns a real estate independent real estate brokerage called 716 Realty. Been in the business since 2013 and is killing it, so much so that he's got accolades such as Who's Who in Western New York real estate for many years, 63 agents, and consistently in the top 100 agents in Western New York. Great story that we're going to hear today about starting out as an individual agent. I'm going to let Greg tell a story about what he did before that, because it's going to blow your mind that he left one thing to do this. And then we're going to hear about the secret to his success, biggest mistake he ever made. And then lastly, the best advice ever, which is the name of this here podcast. So let's do it. Everybody welcome Greg Straus. And the crowd goes wild. So Greg,
Thank you, Mike.
You are up, sir. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. So, I'll kind of give you a little bit about my story. I know you mentioned to kind of hit on that, and it's kind of an interesting path. I a product of an accounting degree in college, led my way to Wall Street, worked at Morgan Stanley in Wall Street, a career of about 5 years after college. From 21 to 26. I tell anybody that can do it to do it. It was a great time. But I knew I was kind of looking for more, and I was always interested in real estate away, but moved back to Buffalo, New York, my hometown where I grew up, went to college, and started looking around at real estate. 27 years old, we started a little real estate brokerage here in town, a grammar school friend of mine and myself, and we really started taking off from there. At the age of 27, you're kind of in that perfect age group where you can reach down and get the first time home buyers. And I was getting upgrade buyers and sending Christmas cards for 3 years in a row to a client. And next thing you know, he buys a $1 million house, which is a very expensive price point in our market. So I've kind of transitioned from starting as an independent broker and just working with my colleagues and growing the business. We rebranded in 2017 to take the 716 Realty trademark. And currently in its iteration of 716 Realty Group, Western New York. That being said, it's kind of, I've seen the growth from, and what's interesting is in our coaching ecosystem as well, that you can grow from an individual agent, which I did, not knowing anything before I started in 2013. Then, started selling a little bit and getting some of those friends and sphere of influence and some internet leads a little bit, and kind of studying the marketplace and studying what's going on nationally. Then I started growing a team and had people help me, and have 5 people on a team and our own staff kind of as a little silo inside the brokerage to, really test some new ideas and understand what's going on with this national trend of teams, and started that really like 2018, 2019. And now fast forward.
I want to dig deeper
Sure.
on this. So let's go back a little bit, because I think there's a lot of people who think, oh, I have this passing interest in real estate. Talk a little bit more about the decision to leave Wall Street. It sounds like you were living the dream. I mean, come on, these kids that are graduating now. I mean, if you're a 20 something right now thinking, man, I could get a job on Wall Street and live the life, why would you ever leave that and take me through that thought process? Because I think
Sure.
a lot of people who get into real estate struggle with that. I've got a job that pays me every week. I have security, but I would love to do my own thing. So walk me through that thought process of what it took for you to go from Wall Street to saying, yeah, I'm going to do real estate.
Yeah, sure. So, I think there is definitely a portion of that. And as I now hire people and train people and coach people myself, identifying who has those entrepreneurial traits, that is definitely a big piece of this, because, when I was 10 years old, I took care of my neighbors and walked their dogs and shoveled their snow. And depending on how much snow in Buffalo, New York, I would charge them incrementally. So I started my own businesses in a way, working hard, being honest with people and charging fair wages. And going back to the Wall Street world, I think, I landed in Wall Street in 2008 in August. I saw people carry boxes out of the buildings. I saw the financial collapse, and really my job to be there was a younger kid out of college to try to replace and figure out other people's jobs and how to streamline things and efficiencies. And it was wonderful. And I do love it. I made a lot of friends. I learned a lot about finance, the world of big finance. And then I started to learn about real estate. Honestly, it's gonna tie back. I remember I was actually, at one point I was dating a girl, and we were starting to, talk and get serious. And you ask yourself, where do I want to live? Can I afford to live here? What does it mean to have a lifestyle around living here? And honestly, I tell people this a lot. I'll be honest, I had a great time. And if my friends ever see this, they'll say, like, we had a great time. 21 to 26 years old, we would work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In my last position, chained to our desks in a way. But at 7 p.m., we couldn't do any more trading, and we would go out and enjoy a nice dinner and go to shows, and really just saw the town and enjoyed it. But it wasn't necessarily the quality of life you can sustain forever. And for me, it took me to know, okay, well, what do I really want to do? Family's important, and home affordability is important. In my market in Buffalo, New York, and I think Mike, yours as well in Cleveland, it is more affordable and attainable to get a home. And I knew that somehow, some way, that I could share that message. And part of that story is like, yeah, you can go to New York and get a big job and maybe buy $500,000 condo that's 1 bedroom, and all these things, and that's great. Or in Buffalo, New York, going back to real estate, you can get a mansion for $500,000. So
Yeah.
it's that quality of life. It's the seasons, it's the green space, it's the Great Lakes, it's the lifestyle. And I kind of knew that the New York lifestyle, while very enjoyable in the 20s, is harder to think about relationships and all that as you get older. So that's really kind of the reason I kind of turned the page and said, well, it's time to go home. I didn't leave New York with the intention of starting a real estate company. Left New York because I knew it was time for me to change my surroundings and be conscious about what are the next things I'm going to do with my life and career when I left New York at 26. I mean, I didn't have a real career lined up here. And truth be told, I had a great friend of mine who I worked at restaurants when I was younger, worked my way through school, dishwashing, all the way up to line cooks and general managing. Actually, I came back from New York, and he's like, well, I'm opening a restaurant. Maybe you can help here and there. And I did for 9 months, got my feet on the ground, and started really thinking about what I wanted to do. And in those 9 months of being back home and helping a friend kind of, with his entrepreneurial, going back to the entrepreneurialness, I also then started to the birth of the real estate brokerage was started, and the wheels started moving, and then the relationships and all that started to unfold. So yeah.
Got it. So you mentioned the entrepreneurial mindset. Another thing you said kind of piqued my interest, because I have found to some extent that people in service industries, bartenders, waiters, there's a very successful solo agent at our brokerage who we met serving us at one of the local wineries. As we start heading northeast, you guys have them up there too, but one of these little local wineries, this guy was phenomenal. And we said, wow, you have a great personality. Your service is impeccable. You should consider real estate. And here he is now, like one of the top 10 agents at our brokerage. Do you feel that the people who have that service mindset are good agents? Like, do you look at people like for your brokerage and say, hey, that's someone who would be a good fit here?
Absolutely. Short answer is absolutely, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit. Um, I would say there's really two professions that I found are extremely successful in real estate sales: the restaurant service industry, and I found a lot of people, a lot of agents we have, also teachers, because it
Hmm.
kind of goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Can you help? Our fundamental role in how we earn a living is by explaining complex topics to people to understand in a way that they can make a conscious decision and act on that in largely the most complex and highest dollar volume, the most expensive transaction of their life.
Right.
So the service industry and the teaching industry, I think, share that. I mean, at the end of the day, I believe you have to care about what others ultimately want. You can't, um, you really can't just say, hey, you should buy this house, it'll be fine, don't worry about it, waive your inspection, max concession, no concessions, appraisal guarantee it through the hills, and all these strategies we've learned. You have to actually say to your client, what do you want? Do you want to be here? Do you like this neighborhood? Do you want to live here? Can you see yourself growing up here? Can you see yourself affording this? It might be a little
Yeah.
more than we thought, but it's really offering that service. And I think that's honestly that service, and really the genuineness of caring about others and building the relationships inside that service. That's how people become uberly successful in real estate. You
Got
have
it.
to care.
So we may have accidentally answered the second question there, but I'll circle back to that in one minute, because I do want to just kind of ask you. So you become a solo agent in it essentially, and then like what was the transition? Like what was the mindset from solo agent to saying, hey, I'm going to have a team? Because I know that's a question I get a lot from agents. When do I know it's the right time to start growing an organization around me?
Yeah, great question. I was actually talking with somebody else yesterday in my office, and we were brainstorming about him collaborating with another entrepreneur we know very well.
Mhm.
And the short answer is, if you're thinking about it, the time is now.
Hmm.
Why is that? And I can tell you, after training and having staff of over 100 people over my years of being a manager, if you will, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, money, energy, and that's not to discourage people. It's to work towards your, life's work, your goals, what's your 3, 5 year goals, all that good stuff. But going back to, why a team? I got to a point as an individual agent where I realized my service to my clients was getting squeezed. It's getting challenging as you go from, oh, cool, I sold $1.5 million my first year in real estate in 2014. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're at $10 million in real estate and doing, 50, 60 transactions. And then, just this past week, I sold a $1.4 million transaction, which is a firm record and a personal record. But like, in order to give those clients, and as you slide up the pricing scale, the service, you have to have people to help you. And I think it's important I say this one other thing about that. It's not necessarily the price point is where you spend your time. It's making sure the complexities of the deal are handled. Sometimes those bigger deals just have a lot more complexity, especially as
Mhm.
we venture into commercial real estate, and investment real estate, which I do a lot of. That being said, going back to the team, like it was, you know, let's just say 2015, 16, 17, teams are the talk of the town. They still are. I mean, there are many brokerages in a way. You got to have a buyer's agent, maybe a
Mhm.
listing agent, a transaction coordinator, marketing assistant, whatever, however you structure it. There's a million ways to structure it. I have studied a lot, and it's one thing I've learned is that there's not a perfect way. But having a core group of people that are willing to work together towards a common goal is what a team is. And I think, and I've proven that, we actually recognized my team, was recognized as one of the largest teams in Western New York when I started doing the team model, by Business First as well. And that's just a testament to that. When you put a bunch of people together that can work together and run consistent team meetings, and you take yourself and put yourself into more of a leadership role, you can start to build those people around you. You'll find the people around you that want to grow and be successful. But you got to put the effort in, and that's where I think once you put the effort in, that's where, again, from an individual to a team, and really now, I do it as the broker level to try to
Sure.
understand. Some people want to be on a team, some people don't.
Right.
How do people work together?
Yep. So on the broker level now, you still have your team, but then you have also other agents at the brokerage who are not on your team. They're there for the culture of 716 Realty in Buffalo, right?
Yep, correct. So many agents are like, hey, I'm cool. And now really, so over the years, and over probably like the last 12 months, I wouldn't say, the easiest way to put it is I don't focus as much on the team. The team doesn't run its own branding. We all operate as 716. We don't have
Mhm.
a team at it's focusing on the company and the culture ultimately. And they'll, I still have people that will assist with open houses or buyer appointments, writing contracts. It, so it's kind of morphed as it went from individual to team to broker
Got it.
level. And part of that, and I actually had a conversation today, is take some of those team members of mine. And this is something I'm looking at for the future of Broker Cap. Take some of those team members of mine who have understood what it's had been like, 2-3 years ago, to really grow into a team and organize ourselves as one and be recognized as one, and then get them to be able to go to the next step, to potentially be a team leader, to potentially hire. One of my guys hired a marketing assistant this summer. One of them was looking for an administrative assistant. They're starting to build, whether you call it a true team by what you and I know, or Gary Keller's book about teams, it's whatever they want it to be. That's the point. And I think getting people to get used to hiring others to help them reach their goals is important. And I think getting them to transition to that next step that's where I'm excited about it, because now they're growing to that next level. And I would say this last bit to those, I'm hearing in my market, a lot of conversations from people that are on teams because of the wild success of teams, that sometimes teams, and I hope this isn't too controversial, but it's true. It's like when the team leader get too big and too successful and don't give enough praise and thanks to those team members, they may get disgruntled and realize they can, like, what am I on this team for now? And I think the success of teams over the last 5-7 years kind of has people now asking those questions. And some people can go out on their own and they'll make it, and some won't. But as a leader myself, what I've learned is you have to let people try and be willing to try to coach them. Like, yeah, you helped me for the first few years and helped me become really successful and get all the praise. And now how do I help you get to the next level? Because if we do it right, we're all still going to make a lot more money doing it.
Yep, I'm with you 100%. And if agents who are listening to this today, you have to really explore that. What is the value proposition? And what's important to me too? Something as simple as, well, when deals get closed out in the MLS, are they closed out in your name, my name, or both our names? Something as simple as that is a great question to ask. And if your answer is, well, I want them closed out in my name, I would ask why. So not only what you think you want, but why you want it, and really explore that with the broker, the team leader that you're talking to. And certainly when you form your own teams, anyone who's looking to do that, ask yourself the same questions. If you're closing them out just in your name, why is that? I think it's just important to kind of have those conversations with yourself. So Greg, I want to circle back, the question that we sort of accidentally answered, I think, because one of the really killer things I heard you say earlier is something that we hear in our coaching, and that when you approach this business instead of as a sales business, but as a service business, that's truly the best or right way to approach it. So I'm guessing that may be your answer, but feel free to change things up on me here. The question is, if you had to pick one thing that is the secret to your success, what would that be?
So I think what I said before was very applicable, but I have to pick one thing as the question.
One thing, one thing, and one thing only.
So I think the biggest thing, and we caption this in some of our marketing, to be honest, at the end of the day, everything boils up to the one word. And honestly, that is trust. If people can trust you and people know that you are a trusting person, you're a good person, they can see it on social media, they can see it in your reviews, they can see that you're genuine, that you're building relationships. It's not about the transaction. I mean, there's people millions of times that say, hey, do you trust me? And they're like, yeah, of course. I go, you're not buying this house. Like, what? Like, what? It's too much of a headache. You're going to be and they're okay. If you can get people to trust you, the secret that I've seen since 9+ years now in the business is, if you get people to trust you, and not in a slimy salesman way, but like in a genuine, like, I'm here to help you, and by helping you get your goal, I get compensated per se. Yeah, that's what we're here for. But I'm not here for the paycheck. I'm here for the, like, are you happy? Because if you get people to trust you and you trust others and you build those relationships, the pipeline just keeps stacking.
It almost fills itself, right, Greg?
It almost will fill itself. I mean, we can get lost in the conversation as brokers and team leaders of the leads, and get enough leads, make sure you got enough leads, and call your leads and scrub your leads. But guess what? The most successful agents, I just waved to one of them, Bill in my office, in his 60s, just crushes it. He's an awesome guy, former corrections officer. When people trust you, they call you. They say, I need you to help me. You say, I think I can help you. And when your phone's ringing inbound, That's how you know you're at the spot you need to be.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll well, I have I'll save that for later.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the inbound phone calls, the people that are trusting you, that call you, um, just yesterday, I'll give you one more example. I got a card in the mail and says, "Hey, thanks so much for coming over and giving me an evaluation of my house. As I told you, I may or may not sell it to a family friend." And there's a gift card in there. Just sold to a
Yeah.
family friend. You know what? And
Yeah.
could I have tried to write the contract and get a commission out of it? Probably. Did I tell the guy I could help him write the contract and charge him a little bit? Yes. But it was a family friend I've known my entire life. And he's like, "What do I owe you?" I go, "Tell you what, you don't owe me anything. It's a family friend. It's a gift to me, to you." He sends me a thank you card, sends me a gift card. Didn't ask for it, but that's the sort of place you want to get to where you're not worried about every little bit. You're worried about the big picture. And ultimately, I believe I helped him. And now he trusts me enough
Mhm.
to know that I didn't try to put my foot into the deal so far that down the road, I mean, we're talking about a family friend for a very long, for 30 years of my life, 30 more years. Who is he going to refer business to the next time somebody says, "I need a realtor"?
Yep.
The guy that he trusts that didn't try to, sell him.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great story. That's a great lesson. Now I'm going to shift gears because
Sure.
this we're doing good here. I mean, this is some great stuff. I appreciate you doing this. I love hearing these
That's
stories.
fun.
We're gonna change gears, and I'm going to ask you the question. So everyone hears these stories, they hear these podcasts about this agent who's crushing it, doing X number of million, this many hundred transactions. Even me, everyone thinks that I do everything right because of our team's success. I want you to tell me about a big mistake or the biggest mistake that you made, just and maybe even the lesson that you learned from it. Because I think it's important for people to know that those of us out here trying, we're not doing everything right every single time. So lay it on us. Big mistake.
Well, you said, we're making a lot of progress and we're talking about some interesting things. And I do think we are. I think if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, "Hey, what do you think where you're going to be in 10 years?" Wouldn't have guessed this spot right now. Did I believe myself then to go forward? Yes, of course. That's why I left Wall Street. Did I know that I would figure it out? Yes. But by figuring it out, there's a tremendous amount of mistakes. I think that's the biggest misconception. Like, "Oh, you're killing it. You got all these things and houses and cars or whatever the person has, right?" And you judge people by these material
Yeah.
possessions, and you say, "Oh, you must be crushing it." Well, define that. What does that mean? And also, how many mistakes have people made? I've had situations where and I'm sure, Mike, you've done it too. You spend 5 grand on a marketing campaign and nothing happens. And then you're like, "Well, oh, since I spent 5 grand on the first one, I got to make up my money. So let's go to the next campaign and spend 10 grand
Yeah.
and still nothing happens." And now you're negative 15 grand. You tried something you thought made sense on paper and it didn't make sense. So the lessons, the way we get here is by, frankly, be willing to make mistakes. That being said, I'll lean into and carefully talk about my biggest mistake, and it's not out of regret or even being upset. And I think that's, as you grow as a leader, you work through these things. But my uncle has a saying: there's two ships you don't want to be on, a battleship and a partnership. And that being said, I challenge my uncle's way of thinking. As an older person, I very respect, but also, you know when you talk about partners, I recently, about a year ago, went through a business change and partnership change, as we just grew and grew and grew and became one of the biggest brokers in Western New York and all the accolades. It's just, my friend and I, who started the business together and I still love and respect, grammar school friend, we decided, "Hey, it's just, why don't we do our own thing?" And we did. Um, and out of that, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about people. I look at my agents as partners. Like, we're in business together to go make money together out there. I look at my staff and support team. We're in a partnership in a way. So the point is, the biggest mistake is getting into the wrong partnership that can be very hard to get out of. That's I guess the takeaway.
Yep.
Consciously have the hard discussions at the beginning, work through, like, how do we exit that? We didn't have all those things in place. Like, everything will be fine. It's kind of like you hear those couples that get married and the celebrities, right? And then they don't have a prenup or something, and one of them takes the other one. Or that didn't happen necessarily here, but you hear those stories. So have the harder conversations at the forefront, and try to learn from the little bit of mistakes, but try to learn from each other and learn from any partners you use. I'm not saying partnerships are a bad thing. I'm just saying you can make mistakes by going into the wrong ones too fast. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and definitely the plan, the exit strategy, all should be there. I know that it's kind of like the prenup conversation. What, you want me to sign a prenup? You don't think we're going to work out? No, that's not why you have those sort of exit strategies. It's so that there is a plan if that does happen. And
Right.
that we're going down a bad path there, but
Here's what I'll say just to cap that. And I use that analogy because I think many people can relate, and you look at the headlines and tabloids or
sure.
whatever. But the point is there, in business, this is business. It's not personal, it's business. It's not, who you're sharing your bank account with, your house with. I mean, potentially, right? This is business. And the point is, and this is what I've kind of learned a little out of the mistake, I guess you could say, going full circle, is like, I just got to have more honest conversations with people, be more realistic of my expectations, document those expectations. We're in a business partnership. But if I think you're doing something to harm the firm or harm yourself, I have to jump in. This is a business, and I want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. And I think through that turmoil, in a sense, it's kind of helped me open my eyes to understand it. And now, do I make every decision right? No. Do you? No, we can't. There's no human being does that. But we learn and we try to get better.
So two quotes. It's business, it's not personal. And then the other quote, don't want to be on a battleship or partnership. I love those. When I went to Case Western for my MBA, I was in an entrepreneurship class, and the dean of the college was teaching it. He was phenomenal, Dr. Osborne. And he was talking about the different structures of a business. And of course, we're all MBAs, so we know the basics. And so he goes through and he says, all right, so partnership, quick advice, don't do it. But now I know none of you are going to listen to me. Let's talk about partnerships a little more in depth. And that was exactly what he talked about: is have the plan, have the written plan, have the exit strategy. So that's all good stuff. I love it. All right, so I'm going to turn the corner here. We're rounding third, heading for home. Going to ask you sort of a general question. If you had to give some advice, one piece of advice, this is the best advice ever to either a new or struggling agent, what would that be?
So I thought about this a little while, and the one piece of advice I think that everybody underestimates: the power of their network, the spider web effect of, by doing the right thing with one, and how that can go to the friend, the family, the sphere, and next thing you know, the power of your network is vast. One of my agents comes up to me, and I was pushing him to do video for a little while, and pushing him to do more social media. Fast forward 5 years now, he's hired somebody to help him do it, which is wonderful. But he was in Dallas, Texas at a Buffalo Bills game, and somebody's like, "Hey, you're that guy that sells real estate, aren't you?" It blew his mind.
Wow.
That in Dallas, Texas, granted, yes, at a Buffalo Bills game, somebody recognized him from his social media videos. The point is that power of your network, both in real life, which is critically important, and the internet, if you harness it the right way, people will start calling. That's the number one bit of advice. No, people are so scared to really put themselves out there. But again, I'd say I did it. I really built myself and my company on social media. I mean, I think there's just watching stuff in the ecosystems that I'm part of, and people around me luckily not doing it nearly as well. And I didn't even do that great as people in, maybe Las Vegas, or Cleveland, but just doing it, just do it. Jump out there, put yourself out there, take away the safety net, work on your network, the people That's always, and anybody I've pretty much talked to, and Mike, I don't know about you, but that's always 80 to 90% of most people's business every single year. The people that and the people that they know.
Yeah, ours is 89%, 88, 89%. And nationally, it's still just under 70% is where the number, that's the last data I read, is just under 70% of people find their agent through either a relationship or personal referral.
Yep.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate the power of your network. And to kind of dovetail back to the piece before about the biggest mistake, but also something, a piece of advice with the power of your network. is make sure that you understand you can't do it alone. You can't do it without, whether you call them partners or employees and they work right under you and you pay them, or virtual assistants, whatever, however it is that you decide to do it, there's a million ways to skin a cat. But you gotta put together the power of your network and the ability to work with others, because no solo standalone agent who does 100% of their job can sell 250,000, 250 houses a year. Just
Can't do it.
can't be done. Math
Nope.
doesn't work that way. Can't show that many houses. Can't do that many listings even. I mean, the point is you gotta work well with others, and you gotta harness the power. And frankly, if you have good networks, and one of the things I think we talked about in the past, you and I took the power of the team. I built that team and then helped plug in a marketing engine. So we do marketing for those people. And then that harnesses the power of their network more.
Yep. Yeah, love it. So we covered so much ground today. Good stuff. We'll have to do another one because I think there's a lot more we could get to, but let's do this. Let's wrap up today. Tell people how we can get in touch with you. And I know you're Buffalo based, but tell us where you cover, how we reach you, and what we should reach you for.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm Buffalo based, Buffalo, Niagara Falls. If you ever heard of it, one of the wonders of the world. We do Buffalo, Niagara Falls as far east as Rochester, New York. We'll do some business out there. Almost to the PA line, Jamestown. There's a nice collection of Finger Lakes in central New York State. We'll go into there, and like my second home is in Ellicottville, New York. It's a great ski country, a lot of snow in Buffalo, so you might as well enjoy that. So kind of service all of those, from lake houses to ski houses and standard homes in between. And if you're shopping in that 250 to 500 budget, there's a lot of options here in Western New York, and get 4 seasons. It's a wonderful place to live, work, and play. That's one of my little taglines. To get a hold of me, you can just shoot me an email, greg@716realtygroup.com. My cell phone's 716-864-1055. Follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Those are all great platforms. I do a lot on there. And we're trying to just constantly grow that network.
Yeah, guys. I recently started following Greg. Definitely follow him. Like we say in our coaching, R&D, rip off and duplicate. You see him do something, take it, make it your own, and do what he does. Follow his footsteps, and you'll be on the right path. So, Greg, can't thank you enough for doing this. This was a great inaugural mission for the best advice ever, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right. Thank you.